with the Manzanar Committee, and we dedicate this pilgrimage, as so many, to the survivors of camp. And so we invite the banner roll call to move forward. And if you are able, if you are incarcerated at any of the camps, we invite you to stand or raise your hand, and we thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much, everyone. So right now it's my pleasure to introduce Bruce Embry, who is the co-chair of the Manzanar Committee, and he will be giving his opening remarks. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you for coming today. Today's pilgrimage is actually continuing a tradition dating back to 1946, when Manzanar's Buddhist priest, the Reverend Shinjo Nagatomi, and his assistant, the Reverend Sen Tuko Maeda, decided that they must return to pray for those who were buried here at Manzanar. These two ministers were later joined by a Christian minister, Suichi Wakahiro, and they returned to Manzanar every year so that those who remained buried here would never be forgotten. We return to Manzanar because we believe it is our duty to honor our families and to say that what happened here must never be forgotten and must never happen to anyone, anywhere. Today, as we gather here in front of the Ireto, we worry about the future of our country because of an energized white nationalist movement that threatens our democratic rights. We hear immigrants referred to as vermin, or we hear them called many despicable names, and that they are going to poison the blood of America. We hear others being dehumanized because of their religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, or racial background. But these vicious attacks, while not new, remind us of the nativist attacks on our community that led to the destruction of our democratic rights and freedoms in 1942 with Executive Order 9066. We know that EO 9066 was created by racist politicians who did the bidding of white supremacist organizations and was fueled by economic greed. We know it had nothing to do with military necessity. But despite these facts, today, 82 years after my mother walked into Manzanar, we see the same dynamics at play. So when a Republican congressman, when asked about Gaza, decides to mention the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, or when universities begin to persecute, arrest, and use riot police against student protesters, we have to act. Like so many communities, we know the cost of war. Many of our families lost fathers, brothers, and sons in the fight against fascism in World War II. The heroics of the 442nd, the 100th Battalion, and the Military Intelligence Service are well known. And we cannot forget that on April 29th, 1945, members of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team helped to liberate Jewish prisoners from the longest-running Nazi death camp, Dachau. These men bore witness to the horrors of the Holocaust, and we must remember them to honor their heroism in defeating fascism and not let their sacrifices be in vain. We are a community that has faced racism, forced removal, and economic exploitation, and therefore we cannot remain silent when others are subjected to the state-sanctioned violence and exploitation or persecution of any kind. We believe that our community, which won redress and reparations, is positioned to remind America that concentration camps, anti-immigrant hysteria, and genocide are antithetical to democracy. But our successful campaign for redress and reparations would be a narrow victory, an incomplete one, if we do not stand with others in their fight for justice. The fight for democracy did not end with the passage of the Civil Liberties Act of 1988, and we cannot outsource the continuing struggle for peace and justice. We have never waited for a benevolent politician to guarantee our democracy. We, the people, must do that. So when we come to Manzanar to honor our families and celebrate our victories, we also have a duty to remind America that democracy will not survive unless we continue to remove the structures of racism that are embedded in our society. We must remind America it owes Black Americans reparations and that indigenous peoples must get their land back. And we must remind America that we, the people, must uphold the human and civil rights of everyone. This is why we return to Manzanar. Thank you.